as many delegates as Bernie Sanders, that him staying in the race is actually helping her be a better competitor through the conflict that they have with each other, that it's actually forcing her to be a better candidate. Jeff is going to talk about conflict. That's why he's here today. And resolving conflict, that's the whole point of his speech, is how do you work to resolve a conflict. It's an 8-minute speech, we'll say today, so timer, please show the green light at 6 minutes, yellow light at 8 minutes, and the red light at 10 minutes. Interestingly, this is not a project from one of the Advanced Communicator manuals. It actually comes from the Leadership Excellence series. And he can apply it, or any of you, if you do a project like this, towards your advanced leadership runs. So take note. All right, now, without any further ado, I'm going to welcome Jeff up here to give us a presentation on conflict resolution.
A moment to set up as I do. When I was in college, I learned the difference between Scottish and Irish. My good friend Barry Frost. 1 octave. Scottish is down here. You know me, brother. Irish is up here. There you go. There's what you need to really know about Irish and Scottish. Quick question while we wait for this screen to boot up. Come on, you can do it.
Feel free to river dance. Is that the river dance? With the right chord?
It's the right chord.
Yeah.
Function F8.
Do you need a shillelagh?
Absolutely, last. But yeah, 2. No signal, no signal, no signal. Okay.
Try this one.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yes!
I don't have the translation.
Oh, no. Oh, that little...
So we're going to forge ahead. On your desk, there is a brief sheet. Includes all the notes from the Resolving Conflict presentation. I'm going to give a quick quiz here. Nice, easy one. Not hard work. How many people here are members of society?
Woo!
Okay, so you've all faced conflict. Good. We have something to talk about. When it comes to resolving conflict, use this for my notes anyway, and you can't see them. Conflict's what you get when you have 2 or more people with differences, which happens all the time. And these differences can be real or perceived. Big piece on there is perceived. A lot of times you have conflict that you aren't even necessarily aware of. I know my wife and I have this frequently. I didn't know you said that. Or there's plenty of things that I walk out the door and I say things because I'm half asleep because somebody just woke me at 12:30 in the morning because of a storm. It's about, about yay high. And I don't know, Sarah. I don't know what I said. So you might have thought I was doing one thing. I have no idea where I was going. So that's just the nature of conflict. Conflict resolution is what we do to identify and address those conflicts. And here's a key word: mature and respectful way. Now it's sad that we put the word mature in there, but when it comes to a lot of what we see today in politics in particular, as of, the clock's still broken right now. As of, what, about a half an hour ago and change, we announced a new candidate for our Supreme Court. And the Republicans are already saying we're not even going to meet whoever is the nominee. They're just going to stonewall this all the way to the election if we can. Since Republicans control it, they're going to stonewall that process. That's not necessarily the most mature way, I would think, to go about it. It seems like there should be some healthy debate, some discussion over what it is we would like to do and why we would like to do it, rather than just grandstanding. So make sure it's mature and respectful to the parties that are involved. And how would you like to be presented for the job of a lifetime and say, this guy is going to be thrown to the fodder before the next election comes through? Types of conflict. We have, of course, contentious personalities. You might know some of these. Here's a good list. The know-it-all, the argumenter. Someone's got to argue about everything. A people pleaser. I know a people pleaser too. The narcissist, classic, or the self-loather. You're going to come across folks like this from time to time. Just have some personalities that break. Or there might be a misunderstanding. We had a misunderstanding in my house the other day. The youngest in the family was playing with the new Lego set robot from Nexo Knights, which I'm sure you're all really big into Nexo Knights. I know we are. But anyway, he seemed to drop it. And so he's frantically trying to put, a billion pieces of these things together, these really intricate things that Lego's designing nowadays, or the brick shapes he used to have. And he's trying to put it back together. Now it looks like to the older son, when he stumbles out there, it's like, oh my gosh, he's tearing it apart. So there's a misunderstanding. He's like, no, it's an accident. Gotta work through that. Issues. Folks have different perspectives, but on particular issues they might have. I heard a good one here in church a couple of weeks ago. My pastor said, his son came to him with an issue, said, Dad, all my friends are going to get iPhones when they turn 10. Why can't I get an iPhone? He said to him, son, I had to wait for the iPhone to be invented before I could have an iPhone. So that's an issue. Something I have to work through. Styles of leadership. You've all come across these. You have your authoritarian style, someone who's just going to bulldoze everybody. The democratic style, which works pretty good sometimes. You can't always reach consensus. The charismatic style. Be very flamboyant, but not be a lot of substance, or it's a lot of flash and a lot of substance there. Or passive, not necessarily following through or moving ahead in a particular direction. So what do we have as far as resolving conflict? Now here's a list. 5 different points here. First of all, you can ignore it. And this might not sound like a great way to resolve conflict, because you are avoiding conflict. But this is a key one. And you might want to just scratch out where it says ignore it and write in these few words. Pick your battles. I try and emphasize this one with my boys in particular. It really doesn't matter over who has the toy in their hand right now. You'll get a turn. Pick your battles. What do you really want to fight over? Or if you have a spouse and you're working through that budget, it's important to talk about it, but don't necessarily fight because they went out and they bought $1, coffee at McDonald's or something like that. You want to fight over what's more at the issue here, the $100 bills. $1 here, $1. Okay, is it really worth fighting? Next, you can smooth it over. This also works good. If it's just hurt feelings, if it's just an accident, or you realize what it is, that it can just be talked through, just work through gently, just with a little bit of time and discussion. That's an approach. Smooth it over. Just make sure that everybody's feelings are acknowledged. Try and move on. Third option, force. This only works really well under one circumstance, and that's more or less an emergency. Somebody just has to take charge, make a decision so we can move on. This isn't something you really want to try and do all the time, because obviously people are going to be hurt about what you decide to do or what you decide not to do. Which will be winners and losers. So instead of force, you might want to scratch that one out. And point number 3 is right, take charge. Sometimes you might need to just simply take charge. Fourth one, compromise. Now, we all don't like to think about compromise sometimes. It's like, okay, we're going to compromise, and I got to give up something. We talk about compromising certain aspects of ourselves. And so there's another one you want to scratch out. Here to compromise, or at least put in a little note here, say, know your values. This is what the key to compromise is. Know what you will not compromise. That will help you to resolve conflict, I think, more than anything else. You can go this far, I'm willing to negotiate on this part, but you cannot cross this line. This is important, and this is why. It's a value, not necessarily a core value like ethics, but it's a team value. My team is not going to stay here for 24 hours a day for the next 6 nights. It's just not going to happen. You have team and core values you have to work through. And last is collaboration. This is the one we all sort of gravitate towards when you just have general conflict. Now, when it comes to collaboration, the key part is trying how you work through facilitating the collaboration. So when you have the conflict, you're going to try to find what the root cause is first. Sometimes this is easy, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it feels like I'm on Oprah. But sometimes, if you can get to that root cause, you can ask enough questions and figure, okay, what is the real problem here? How can we address it? When I was coming down this morning, I was reading through all of the safety incidents. And every time they talk about all the traffic incidents that we have, and one of the complaints that I have amongst the colleagues we talked about was like, we keep getting blamed, on our list of traffic accidents for ones that we're just parked at a stop sign and somebody rear ends us. But it does bring up the question, well, what can we do? Is it, did I brake too hard when I stopped? Or did I not pay attention to someone who was tailgating me? Maybe there's something that I could do if we asked the question. So find that root cause, figure it out, talk about it a little more, and see if that can lead you to getting people to talk with each other and start talking about what are some ideas that we have to address the situation. Of course, you want to encourage everybody there in the room to listen to each other, and when things are heated, that's almost impossible. But if you can at least get some people talking, break the ice, and working on just listening, hearing what the other side is. The classic stand in the other person's shoes approach. That will help to resolve. Then start working and saying, what can we do? Identify your areas of disagreement, start searching for solutions, look towards moving towards a consensus. That's collaboration. Now here in the notes they talk about, down here, about the brainstorming method. There's the classic 3 things you do with a brainstorming method. We're all going to sit down, we're going to cast out a bunch of ideas, we're not going to talk about them first. And we're going to go through those ideas, then we're going to talk about them eventually and evaluate them, and then we'll come up with that list that this is what we're going to use to resolve the problem. I'd like you to take a different bend. I've just been doing some reading and listening on some things, because this approach doesn't necessarily work for everybody. You might, particularly if you have somebody that's, you can tell that's in the room and they're quiet. They don't want to address the conflict. Maybe they're just too emotional about something. But they say that people, or a team, I should say, will resolve, or I shouldn't say resolve, they will come up with more ideas if they work individually, and then bring them together. So we want to do that. It's like, hey, let's talk about this. Okay, break. Think of some ideas. And we'll come back together. Then we'll put all our ideas together. And then we'll start putting them up. And then maybe take another break. Think about which ideas you think are best. Think about ones that maybe need some more questions on and have some more discussion on it. Then come back together. If you do that, it gives some people a little bit more time to think. People will process things differently. And we'll work on that, and they'll come up with probably a better solution. Of course, that's a little more time-consuming. But that way, some of the personalities that might not necessarily be so aggressive have that opportunity to step back, process in a less charged environment, and be able to work through it. So in conclusion, you're going to face conflict. And as a leader, the key is you're going to have to resolve it. There's nothing worse than unresolved conflict running around. When you see it, address it as best as you can. Madam Toastmaster, I should say. Hi, Lassie.
Appreciate it. Timer, Mr. Sean Lumen. Please put a minute on the clock for us to write down our evaluations. Feel free to take over the stage, do a jig.
A little more salsa thing going on here.
What is salsa?